See, everything has a starting point. When you ignore the starting point, you're playing yourself. Young ladies, when you meet a fella, first thing your mama asks you is, how was he raised? How much money he made? Etc., etc., etc. Starting point. Y'all with me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, the Roman Catholic Church, they had this meeting for the express purpose of discussing and regulating matters of church doctrine and discipline. Over 20 councils were convened between 325 AD and 1870 AD. These time frames of events were the reason why you believe as a Christian what you believe in today. Okay? Church doctrine was a stage by stage and step by step process. It was not something that happened overnight. History and facts and artifacts have proven this. Today we will try to bring to light one of these councils. Now, before I go any further, I want to define a few things. One of the things that I like to define is a fact. Because we got to get a clear, analytical perspective about things before because this is some deep information that I'm about to get y'all, and I just don't want to, A fact is defined as something that is true, something that actually exists, or something having objective reality that can be verified according to an established standard of evaluation. Now, in layman's terms, basically is a fact is something that stands alone whether you believe in it or not. I can go to the doctor and I can try my best to have a child, but it'll never happen because I don't have the organs to have a child. I can believe that I can have a child, but if I don't have the proper organs, if I was not made with 2 X chromosomes, I'm not going to have no child. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? That's a fact. Now, belief is something different. Got to separate the two. A belief is the psychological state in which an individual holds a proposition or premise to be true, whether it's true or not. Layman's terms. A belief is something that is accepted. 99.9% of the people can accept it, but it's not necessarily true. And what makes it a strong, influence is the fact that a lot of people believe in it, not the fact that it's true. A fact don't have to stand. It don't matter if one person believes in it. A fact is a fact. It stands alone. Now, some people try to change facts, but it's one thing that they cannot change. And one of the things that they cannot change, and I love this definition, is reality. Now, facts are usually based on reality. But reality is everyday usage means the state of things as they actually exist. In a sense, it is what is real. The term reality, in its widest sense, includes everything that the brain perceives. Now check this out. Reality is usually something that has already occurred. Everybody with me?
Oh, yeah.
Something that already occurred. You can argue reality, but it don't make a difference. It stands alone. What we have done, especially in the African American community, we have adopted a lot of beliefs to be reality and fact. Once you have done this, you become what you call deceived, because you are not separating a fact and a belief. Every major religious institution is based on a belief system. Let me continue on so you can understand what I'm saying. The definition of faith is a belief. Notice that the definition of faith, you know how they tell you gotta have faith. The definition of faith starts with belief. Faith is a belief in the trustworthiness of an idea or person. Formal usage of the word faith is usually reserved for concepts of religion, as in theology, where it almost universally refers to a trusting belief in a transcendent reality, or else in a supreme being and said being roles in the order of transcendent spiritual things. Nothing wrong with having faith. But like what I like to tell people is, my faith is based on reality. You cannot base your faith on something that does not exist. It's even a scripture in the Bible that said faith without works is dead. Another definition. I hope y'all keeping these definitions in y'all memory, because I ain't like giving us a lot of definitions. I'm giving these definitions for a reason, because when I start tapping off into some things, y'all gotta know this stuff. Now, one of the things that they deal with when you go to church is a doctrine. How many of you raise your hand of those who heard of the word doctrine? Okay, put your hands down. That's how you got all these denominations that you got today. Because they believe in a specific doctrine. If they did not believe in a specific doctrine, there wouldn't be so many different churches out there. Now, when people define these words such as preachers, these words that have been defined for years, they know what they're doing when they put these definitions together. We might not know what they mean, but they know what they mean. So let's take a look at doctrine. Doctrine is a codification of beliefs. Did I say reality or did I say beliefs? Turn to your neighbor. We're going to do the church. Turn to your neighbor and say beliefs. Okay. A belief in a body of teachings or instructions taught principles of positions as the body of teachings in a branch of knowledge or a belief system. Not a reality system, because I like to deal with reality systems. A belief system. Now that's kind of funny, because nowhere in that definition did I hear the word reality or fact. Nowhere in the definition of faith did I hear the word reality or fact. These are things we got to look at, y'all, when a preacher preaching and he's sweating real hard. Because I forgot my handkerchief. I'm supposed to have a handkerchief. Another thing that I like to really steer away from, I hate this word, but unfortunately it's used today, and we tend to use this word I'm about to define. We tend to do this and we don't realize we're doing this because we have accepted these beliefs as fact. It's called philosophy. Anything that's not a fact and that cannot be proven is a philosophy. You might have been taught in church that it's a fact, but that does not make it a fact. Philosophy is the study of general problems concerning matters such as existence, knowledge, truth, beauty, justice, validity, mind, and language. Philosophy is distinguished from other ways of addressing these questions, such as mysticism or mythology, by its critical, general, systematic approach and its reliance on reasoned argument. The discussion of facts is still philosophy. Y'all listen to what I'm saying? We can discuss facts, but it's only just philosophy. It's only what we think about something. Because the basis of what we think about something is a fact, what we think about that fact doesn't make it a fact. It just makes it philosophy. Y'all with me? Earlier I used the word ecumenical. Okay? The Roman Catholic Ecumenical Council. What do I mean by ecumenical? An ecumenical council or general council is a conference of bishops of the whole church convened to discuss and settle matters of church doctrine and practices. This is what these different councils were called. The question that I have is, something that is reality and something that is fact, why does it have to be discussed? Did you hear what I just said? Water and oil don't mix. We don't have to discuss that. You can pour oil in a glass and you can pour water in a glass. It's just not going to mix. Now, we can talk about why they don't mix, but the fact is, it's not going to mix. Okay? I question things that has to be discussed in a certain way. All right? I just do. See, when we was a kid, we always ask why. My son is 5 years old. Why? I never tell my son he can't ask why. Because if he can't ask why, then how he ever going to grow? Now, when I was growing up, my mom, don't ask me why. Or why this happened? Don't ask me that. In church, we adults, we in church, don't question God. Well, why not? What type of relationship am I supposed to have with God if I can't kick it with him? When you married, you ask your spouse, why you put your shoes by the door? Didn't I tell you to, put them over here? Why are these dishes in the sink when I went to bed last night, they was clean? Why? Now, if you didn't ask them questions with your spouse, y'all wouldn't have a good relationship. Am I right or wrong? But the preachers say, you ain't supposed to question God, but then he preach you're supposed to have this bomb relationship with God. Well, I got to kick it with God to have a bomb relationship with him. He created all things. I can't ask him. I think he the perfect dude to ask. Right or wrong? Okay. Now, I want to define ecclesiastical because I'm going to use that word. Ecclesiastical basically means church. All right? Church folk. Y'all with me? All right. Another definition I want to define is Christology. All right? It is a field of study within the Christian theology which is concerned with the nature of Jesus the Christ. In other words, Christology, and I'm trying to run through this. Christology basically deals with the nature of Jesus, who we believe is Jesus Christ. All right? It doesn't deal with his life from a historical standpoint. Now, why is Christology important? Because every church deals with Christology. When you go to church, they deal with the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. This defines him as a superhuman being. Somebody that can die and rise again, right? Well, that's the nature for him to be man and God. That nature is called Christology. All right? Now, one thing that I like about the definition of Jesus is, it says, in the central figure of Christianity, and is revered by most Christian churches as the Son of God and the incarnation of God, the principal sources of information regarding Jesus' life and teachings are 4 canonical gospels. In other words, 99.9% of the stuff that you know about Jesus is in the 4 gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, some other books was taken out, but they were taken out for a reason. Remember earlier I said you have to know the origin and the purpose and the design and why they do things? Well, a lot of people don't know this, but during Paul's time, because Paul was like the man, he wrote like 14 different books in the Bible. They had what you call, I don't even want to say during Paul's time, I'm sorry, after Paul's time, because a lot of people don't know this, and we're going to get to that. When Paul was around from 5 AD to 67 AD, when I say AD, I mean we in AD now. Remember this, BC goes down. In other words, you got 4000 BC, okay, which will be 6,000 years ago. And then it'll go to like 3000 BC. Then it'll go to like 2000 BC. You always count backwards when you're dealing with BC. When you're dealing with AD, you're always going up. 1 AD, 2 AD, 3 AD. Everybody understand that?
Right.
Well, during Paul's time, he existed from, I believe, they believe, if he existed during 6 AD to about 67 AD. Now, the only, check this out, reference that they have of the life of Jesus the Christ is mainly in the 4 Gospels. During Paul's existence, I want y'all to listen to what I'm saying real carefully because I don't want to lose y'all. There was no Gospels yet. Everything was oral.
Hadn't been written.
Hadn't been written. When you are doing your historical research, you have to do something. You have to put everything in chronological order.
That's right.
If you cannot do that, you are going to get a foggy view of what actually happened. Now, Paul, in his letters, talked a lot about Jesus the Christ. Let's talk about Paul for a minute. Here is a leader in the Christian faith who was in Damascus. Church folk, please pay attention. I'm about to use a map. Damascus is right here. All right? This is Turkey. We're going to talk about Turkey too. Now, if you notice, Turkey and Damascus is right above Egypt. Now, why is that important? The reason why that's important is because a lot of church doctrine was established, I want to say all of it, around these parts right here. It's not a coincidence that the earliest known spiritual artifacts was in Egypt. And most of the doctrine was established right above Egypt. When did this happen? I'm trying to give y'all a clear view about when this happened. All right? Now, Paul made his transition right here. And the reason why I said there was no Gospels yet, all right, let me just dig into my notes, because I got a lot of them, is because the oldest book in the Bible, everything can be carbon dated that had any type of living. If it was a living organism at a time, it can be carbon dated. There's a such thing as papyrus leaves. For those who don't know who papyrus leaves is, let me break something down to you. The Bible is an artifact itself. The books of the Bible are an artifact. That's why you believe what you believe today, because somebody found these scrolls. Are y'all with me? Okay, they didn't find it like the King James Version that you buy at Dixon's Bible and bookstore in God's world. That ain't how they found it. I know we would like to think that, but that's not how they found it. They found it on papyrus leaves. Now, papyrus leaves are plants that grow between like 5 to 9 feet tall. They're thick, about 2 to 3 meters, and they only grow mainly up the Nile Valley, which is located in Egypt. Are y'all with me? These plants were used for a lot of things in ancient Egyptian time. Why is that important? Well, most of the Bible was written on papyrus leaves.
That's right.
Okay? See, a lot of people didn't know that. That little flimsy paper that we see in church, it wasn't written on this. Matter of fact, the word paper comes from papyrus. Why is that important? Because papyrus was a living organism at one time, so they're able to do tests on them to find out when they were written. When you're doing your historical research, you cannot start when the story starts. You have to start when the actual document was written.
That's right. I
can start a story right now and say in the beginning of time. But when they date that story and they find out, oh, Gennaro wrote this story in 2008, it don't matter what I said because I wasn't there in the beginning of time. So they credit Genesis to Moses. But if you know anything about your chronological historical research, Moses wasn't around during the beginning. So now getting back to Paul. Paul time, I was almost right, was basically from 5 to 67 AD. Well, how do they know that? Well, when they do tests on this cat's letters, or the letters that was accredited to him, because some of the letters, the scholars say they don't even know if he wrote it or not. They date back from this time, 5 to 67 AD. Now, I got a problem with that as a person who studies history because there was no Gospels. Now, when you go to church and you see the order that they have the Bible in, they got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right? And then they got Paul's letters. Well, if you was to put things in chronological standpoint, it wouldn't be like that. Paul's letters would be first. And then Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John would come. Are y'all with me? The oldest books that they have found in the New Testament is the book of Mark. Now, Mark date, which was talking about the life of Christ, Mark's date goes back to 70 AD. Now, if you know anything about the life of Jesus the Christ, they date him, because it's 2008 for a reason. Y'all with me? They date him from 1 AD to about 33 AD, right? Because he died when he was, 33. And this whole Gregorian calendar that we follow today is based on this man's life. Are y'all with me?
Oh, yeah.
It's 2008, according to the doctrines that has been established by the Roman Catholic Church. It's not really 2008. We ain't been in existence 2008 years. We was here before that. As a matter of fact, if you go to Egypt and you see in the Temple of Dundara, they had a calendar that's over 6,000 years old.
That's right.
So how did we get to 2008? Are y'all with me?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, I think it's odd that Paul, we've been taught, was after Christ because he never met Jesus.
Right.
Okay, y'all listen to what I'm saying?
Right.
But his writings were before the people who wrote about Jesus the Christ life. What's up with that? So if you put things in chronological order, it sounds like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were followers of Paul because his writings was first about Jesus Christ. Are y'all following what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't take my word for it, ladies and gentlemen. Please go look it up yourself.